Welcome to the True Guy Globe Brief Updates. Subscribe and press the bell icon for updates. From the ashes of Auschwitz, where hope seemed all but lost and the world was shrouded in darkness, to the warm, open arms of Manila, this is the forgotten story of a Holocaust survivor who was raised by Filipinos far from the land of his birth. In a world torn apart by war and unimaginable suffering, stories of survival and kindness often emerge from the most unexpected places, reminding us of the resilience of the human spirit. This is the story of David, a young Jewish boy who lost everything, his family, his home, and his childhood, to the horrors of the Holocaust. But David's journey didn't end in the ruins of Europe. Instead, it took him across vast oceans on a long and uncertain voyage, all the way to the distant islands of the Philippines. In this land of sunshine, vibrant colors, and unfamiliar faces, he found more than just safety from persecution. He found a family who welcomed him as their own, a home filled with laughter and warmth, and a renewed sense of hope for the future. David's early life was shattered by war, but his path to the Philippines was part of a little-known rescue effort, a beacon of hope and compassion in a world struggling to find its humanity. The Philippines, against all odds, opened its doors when so many others turned away. Imagine a boy no older than 7 stepping off a ship into the humid, bustling port of Manila, his heart pounding with fear and anticipation, unsure of what awaited him in this strange new land. The air was thick with unfamiliar smells, spices, tropical fruits, and the sea, and the sounds of a city rebuilding itself after years of hardship. Alone, a Jewish orphan in a predominantly Catholic nation, David's story is a testament to the Filipino spirit of acceptance, generosity, and resilience. In a time when much of the world closed its doors to refugees, the Philippines opened its heart and its borders, offering sanctuary to those in desperate need. Sometimes, heroes are not those who wear capes, but ordinary people who offer a bowl of rice and a loving home to a child who has lost everything, giving him a chance to heal and belong. This is the inspiring story of how a boy who survived the Holocaust found not only safety, but his soul, his family, and his future in the Philippines, a true testament to the power of compassion and the enduring strength of the human heart. David's story begins in Poland, a country rich with history and tradition, where Jewish families like his had lived for generations, building lives filled with hope and community. His early years were surrounded by warmth, laughter, and the comforting embrace of family, a world that seemed safe and unbreakable before it was so suddenly extinguished. He remembers the sweet aroma of his mother's challah bread filling their home every Friday, a symbol of love and tradition passed down through generations, and his father's gentle voice reading stories by candlelight, simple everyday moments that made up his entire world and gave him a sense of belonging. But as the shadow of Nazism spread across Europe, their peaceful existence began to crumble, replaced by fear and uncertainty. The day the soldiers came is a memory seared into David's mind, shouting, splintering wood, and the cold, unyielding grip on his mother's arm as chaos erupted around them. Hidden by his father in a desperate act of love, David survived that night, but he would never see his parents again, their faces forever etched in his memory. A brave neighbor, risking everything, took him in and kept him safe, showing that even in the darkest times, courage and kindness could still shine through. For months, David lived in silence and shadows, barely daring to breathe, his childhood slipping away as he waited for the world outside to change. After the war finally ended, aid workers and Jewish organizations worked tirelessly to find and relocate orphans like David, offering hope to those who had lost everything. He was moved from camp to camp, a quiet, watchful child carrying invisible scars, searching for a place to belong and a reason to hope again. Then came an unexpected lifeline. The Philippines, under President Quezon, opened its doors and offered refuge to Jewish survivors, a rare beacon of compassion in a world still reeling from war. The journey to Manila was long and uncertain, filled with anxiety and longing, but it was a chance for a new beginning, a glimmer of hope on the horizon. David clutched a worn photograph of his parents as the ship approached Manila, holding on to memories of love and loss as he faced the unknown. Stepping onto foreign soil, he braced himself for another unknown world, his heart pounding with both fear and anticipation. Alone but not defeated, David prayed that this new land would be kinder than the one he left behind, and that somehow, he could find light after so much darkness. Manila was a whirlwind, tropical heat, the aroma of sizzling street food, and a city alive with energy and movement. The streets buzzed with jeepneys weaving through traffic, vendors calling out their wares and the constant hum of life. For a newcomer, it could feel overwhelming, almost like stepping into another world entirely. In the midst of this chaos, David felt utterly lost, clutching his only connection to the past, a worn photograph. He wandered, unsure and frightened, until a woman selling bananas noticed the confusion and fear in his eyes. She didn't speak his language, but compassion needs no translation. Her eyes were kind, her gestures gentle, and David sensed her genuine concern. She offered him a banana, showing it was safe by taking a bite herself, a simple act that became his first ray of hope in this unfamiliar place. That small gesture, so ordinary to her, meant the world to him. Soon David was taken to a refugee shelter, a place filled with others who had lost so much. But word of the orphan boy with the haunted eyes quickly spread through the community. Ailing Rosa, a widow raising 2 children of her own, heard about him. Despite her own struggles, she felt a pull to help this lost child. She saw David, pale and lost, and without hesitation, took his hand, gently leading him to her modest home. Her warmth was immediate, her kindness unwavering. This wasn't a formal adoption, it was pure compassion, a spontaneous act of humanity that needed no paperwork or ceremony. Rosa bought him calamansi juice from a nearby vendor. Its sweet and sour taste was unlike anything David had ever tried, a new sensation that made him smile despite himself. For the first time in a long while, David felt something other than fear. The tension in his shoulders eased, and he allowed himself to relax, if only a little. It was fragile, this feeling, but it was the beginning of hope, a tiny spark that promised things could get better. In Rosa's care, he found the first glimmer of belonging, a sense that maybe, just maybe, he could be part of a family again. The kindness of strangers, woven together by small acts of generosity, was slowly stitching his life back together, one gentle moment at a time. Ailing Rosa's home was a simple nipa hut, a world away from David's life in Poland. Rosa's children, Mateo and Lida, looked at him with curiosity. The food was different. Rice, fish, and coconut milk replaced bread and potatoes. Rosa patiently made him simple dishes and taught him to eat with his hands. Music filled their home. Mateo played guitar and neighbors gathered to sing folk songs. David listened, not understanding the words, but feeling the emotion. The community embraced him, sharing what little they had. They called him Davide, making him feel seen. He was no longer a ghost child hiding in the shadows. In this humble barrio, surrounded by kindness, David was learning to be a child again. He was beginning to feel that he belonged. The warmth of his new family was slowly healing his heart. A powerful typhoon swept through their region, terrifying David and bringing back old trauma. Ailing Rosa gathered her children and David, shielding them as the storm raged. Neighbors came to help, securing shutters and sharing what little food they had. In the darkness, David saw not just fear but the strength of community. When the storm passed, people helped each other rebuild. Mateo took David to help an elderly neighbor, and for the first time David was able to give back. That evening, the barrio gathered for a communal meal, sharing food and laughter despite their losses. Surrounded by neighbors, David felt a profound shift. These people had given him everything. They made an unspoken vow to protect and love him as their own. In the glow of the fire, under the stars, David finally understood. He was safe. He was home. The community's love was his shelter. David carried 2 worlds inside him: the memories of his parents and the vibrant life of the Philippines. He often wondered who he was, the Jewish boy from Poland or Davide from the barrio. The answer came slowly, through countless acts of love. Ailing Rosa saved the crispiest fish for him, Mateo defended him, and Lida shared her secrets. These everyday acts wove him into their family. When he fell ill, Ailing Rosa never left his side, caring for him through fever and delirium. Her love transcended blood and language. It was the love of a mother. David realized home wasn't a place, but the feeling of being unconditionally loved. Poland was where his life began, but the Philippines was where it was reborn. He didn't have to choose between his worlds. He could honor his past and embrace his present. Home was here in this nipa hut with this family. Love had allowed him to grow again. As David grew, the Philippines became his identity. He spoke Tagalog, played street basketball, and navigated Manila's markets with ease. He adopted Filipino customs and loved the food, from sinigang to halo-halo. To outsiders, he was a young Filipino man, though his roots were different. He merged his 2 identities, honoring his Jewish heritage while embracing his Filipino life. He excelled in school, driven to give back to the country that saved him. He became Kuya Davide, the responsible son and promising student. His unique perspective gave him empathy and motivation to make a difference. As an adult, David chose to become a Filipino citizen, not rejecting his heritage, but affirming where his heart belonged. The process was a declaration of love and loyalty to his new nation. With his family watching, he took his oath. The lost boy who arrived on a ship was now, in every way, a son of the Philippines. David dedicated his life to being a bridge between his two worlds. As a historian and writer, he shared his story and the kindness of the Filipino people. He honored President Quezon's open-door policy and the compassion of ordinary people like Ailing Rosa. He made sure his family was cared for and established scholarships for children in his old barrio. His home blended Jewish and Filipino culture, a menorah beside a Carabao carving. David's legacy is a reminder that welcome can heal the deepest wounds. His story challenges us to see the common humanity in us all. In a world fractured by division, his life stands as a beacon of hope. A single act of kindness can change a life forever. David, the Jewish orphan from Poland, became a Filipino in spirit and deed. His story is a legacy of love, a gift from the Philippines to the world.